Welcome to the Madison Miller podcast. Kentucky Derby is right around the corner, and as this tradition goes on of having Jeff Byrnes on the podcast to preview and predict it, and here we are. How are you?
Doing good, Madison. It's a nice day outside. Hopefully it'll be a good day on Saturday, but happy Derby week.
Yeah, happy Derby week for sure. It's been a while since I've had you on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to this. So the Derby, there are 21 horses in the race unless there's some scratches. Am I right?
As of right now, there are no scratches. However, there are some rumors possibly going around about one of the horses being a possible scratch. Render Judgment for Kenny McPeak, maybe. I saw this morning that he was diagnosed with a quarter crack, which could affect his right front foot. So it is something to keep an eye on. If the number 21 Byrnes wants to draw into the field, he does need a scratch by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it is something to keep an eye on. Hopefully we get a full field for the Derby. Hopefully no scratches, but certainly it's something to keep an eye on with Render Judgment.
Yes, absolutely. Alrighty, so we'll do all 21 horses because I remember the one year we left out the subs, and that one horse ended up the 90-1 shot ended up winning. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2022. That was Rich Strike.
Rich Strike, yep.
Yeah, he benefited from a massive pace meltdown by the leaders. And looking at this field this year, wouldn't surprise me if it happens again.
Interesting. All right, so the first horse is Citizen Bull. Bob Baffert is the trainer, 20-1 on the morning line. Tell us about Citizen Bull.
Well, first off, welcome back to trainer Bob Baffert. This is his first appearance at Churchill Downs in 4 years after his long suspension after the medication violation for Medina Spirit in 2021. And his reward is he gets post position number 1 with Citizen Bull. Post position number 1 has not won the Kentucky Derby since 1986, so he does have history going against him. And for this horse, Citizen Bull in particular, there's a lot to like, but there's also not a lot to like. Obviously, he is a speed horse. He is expected to be one of the horses that should show speed from the front end. So the one post does hurt him in a lot of ways because he's going to have to go basically right from the start. In his career, he's 4 for 6. All 4 of his career wins have gone gate to wire. So he led at every call of the race in each one of his wins. His first stakes win was the Grade 1 American Pharoah last October at Santa Anita. He did win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Del Mar in November. He is the reigning 2-year-old champion. And then this year, when he got started, he won the Robert B. Lewis going a mile, earned a 98 buyer number, which is one of the fastest of this crop. But the Santa Anita Derby, I think, threw up a lot of red flags. In that race, he was a short field, only a 5-horse field. But he got confronted by a pace setter in that race named Westwood, who challenged him on the front end, even took the lead down the backside. And Citizen Bull just had no response. It was kind of a disappointing effort, and he faded all the way back to 4th behind horses like Journalism and Baeza, who we'll get to later on. But Citizen Bull was very disappointing in that race, and it really kind of exposed him in a way that he does need the lead, and he has not shown or proven that he can come from off the pace, pass horses, and win. So unless he unless he comes away like a rocket from the gate and could go gate to wire, it's going to be very tough on him, especially from post number 1. So Citizen Bull's going to be up against it, and unless he can get to the lead, and I do have some distance questions with him, going a mile and a quarter. So 20-1 in the morning line. I suspect he'll be a little bit lower than that because of his trainer Bob Baffert. So it's going to be a tall task for him.
Tall task for sure. And I was just going to mention, is this Bob Baffert's first Derby since 21? But you gave me the answer. All right. The number 2 horse is Neoclose. Is that how you say that one?
Neocos.
Neocos. Yep. 30-1. So Neocos. Joseph Safi is the trainer of this horse. Tell us about Neocos.
So Neocos, this is another one of the speed horses. So a lot of speed so far to the inside. Should be noted that his jockey Flavian Pratt should the number 21 Baeza draw in, he'll actually have the first call aboard Baeza and not Neocos. Instead, it will be Luis Saez who will ride Neocos if the 21 Baeza draws in by tomorrow morning. So something to keep an eye on with Flavien Prat on there. As far as Neocos goes, he's going to be another one of these speed horses in this field. This will be his first race outside of Gulfstream Park in Florida his entire career. He has started 7 times. All 7 of them have been at Gulfstream Park. He has finished for a third or better in 6 straight races. But I do have with him some distance limitations, I believe. His sire, Neolithic, wasn't exactly a long-distance horse. He did sire some middle distance up to milers. But in the Fountain of Youth, he went to the front, set some pretty brisk fractions, but he couldn't hold off Sovereignty and another nice horse named River Times. But the Florida Derby, he took just that off the pace, but he couldn't. But again, the distance kind of showed his hand. So I have a very hard time believing this horse is going to get the 1.25 miles. So he's going to be part of the speed factor. I just don't think he's going to get the right distance limitations for him.
All righty. So the 3 horse is Final Gambit, another 30-1 on the morning line. Brad Cox's horse. Tell us about Final Gambit.
So Final Gambit, this is going to be a 30-1 on the morning line. I think he's going to be a little lower than this. This will be the Kentucky Derby will be his dirt debut. He has never run on a dirt surface before. His first career start at Churchill Downs was a 3rd place finish over their turf course. And then he went over to Turfway Park in Florence, Kentucky, where they have an all-weather synthetic surface. So he's never run on dirt before. He is one of these closers, so he could be a horse that benefits from a brisk speed duel up front. His jockey, Luan Machado, kept him out into the clear in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And then he swept by horses one by one, turning for home. And he won the Jeff Ruby going away. It was a very impressive performance. The question is, though, whether he can handle the dirt. His sire, not this time, was primarily a dirt horse. I think he'll be fine over it. He looks like he's training well over it. His last workout on April 26th was really impressive, going to 5 furlongs and 101 flat. So not too fast, not too slow. Probably just what Brad Cox wanted to see. He does have some speed figures that could be a little bit questionable compared to some of the others in here. His 90 buyer, not really all that fast, considering going into the first Saturday in May. But Final Gambit, should he get to the dirt, I think he's going to be one of these horses that will be coming late and could be a factor at the end. It's worth knowing that Jeff Ruby Stakes, 3 years in a row, produced Kentucky Derby winner Rich Strike in 22. In 2023, it produced a Derby runner-up in 2 fills. And last year, although it didn't have a factor in the Derby, it did produce last year's Preakness winner, Steez the Gray. So the Jeff Ruby Stakes has actually been a very influential race on the road to the Triple Crown for the last 3 years. So I wouldn't discount Final Gambit. The dirt is going to be the biggest question for him. So if he does get good pace, well, we'll see how he does coming at the end.
All righty. The 4 horses Rodriguez, 12-1 on the morning line. This is another Bob Baffert horse. Tell us about Rodriguez.
So Rodriguez, this is the second for trainer Bob Baffert. His jockey will be Mike Smith, 59-year-old Mike Smith. Should he win this race, he'll be the oldest jockey to ever win. So pretty cool stat right there. Rodriguez is another one of these speed horses. So 3 of the first 4 is going to show plenty of speed. And Rodriguez, he's 2 for 5 in his career. Both of his wins have come on the front end. His main special weight on January 4th was extremely impressive. Got a 100 buyer, which is one of the fastest of the crop. The Robert B. Lewis, he was second behind Citizen Bull, which he was a little slow from the gate, but couldn't get by him at the end. The San Felipe were on March 1st. Was a little bit disappointing because he was behind Journalism and another highly touted bat horse named Byrnes, and he couldn't chase them down at the end. He even faded a little bit towards the end. So he has shown, though, he can't pass horses, though, when he's not on the front end. The Wood Memorial, he got post 1 of 12. He went right to the front, sent some brisk fractures, and pulled away very nicely. Which include a field that also included Grande, who we'll get to in a little bit. But Rodriguez, if he does not get away from the gate well, it could spell trouble for him. He doesn't pass horses. He's going to be one of these horses that is going to need the lead, which also could be a reason for a speed duel. So if he gets to the front, though, and he could set for brisk fractions, good fractions, he's going to be tough. Rodriguez has shown he's a very big horse, beautiful horse. He has matured, is getting a lot better though. So if he can get to the front, or at least get into maybe the top 4 down the backside, I think he's got a good chance. I definitely wouldn't leave him off the top 4 in the order of finish.
All righty. The 5 horse is American Promise, 30-1 on the morning line. Dwayne Lucas is the trainer. Tell us about American Promise.
So American Promise for 89-year-old Dwayne Lucas. This would be another one of these derbies for Dwayne Lucas. He's been around the game for a long, long time. He was the trainer of last year's Preakness winner, Steve DeGray. And here he is again with another Derby horse in American Promise. This horse was highly touted from the beginning. He $750,000 auction purchase. And it took him a while, though, to break his maiden. It took him 6 tries. He didn't break his maiden until December 29th at Oaklawn Park. When he finally got into the stakes competition, he kind of disappointed a bit. 7th in the Southwest Stakes. He was 5th in the Risen Star Stakes at the Fairgrounds a couple weeks later. Then his connections took him to the Virginia Derby at Colonial Downs, where the track was playing extremely fast that day. He just set off the pace, and he took the lead turning for home. And he pulled away and won by 7 lengths, and it set a new track record in 146-2, which is flying for 9 furlongs. Now, the Virginia Derby, this is the first time ever that this race was held on the dirt and the Derby prep race. Normally, it was held during the summer as a turf race, but Churchill Downs, who owns Colonial Downs in Virginia, moved the race to the dirt and moved it to March so they can get this as a Derby points race. So we really don't have that much information about how this could be a beneficial race. Maybe in the next couple of years we'll find out. But American Promise has been working well. Maybe we'll see how good he is on the first Saturday in May. He's not exactly a speed horse. He could be one of these horses that fits 5th or 6th early on. So he could be a stalker here. If he gets a beneficial pace in front of him, he could make one a late run.
All righty. Next up is the 6th. That is Admire Daytona, a Japanese horse, 30-1 on the morning line. The trainer is Yukihiro Kato. Tell us about Admire Daytona.
So Admire Daytona, this horse qualified for the Kentucky Derby by winning the UAE Derby at Meydan Racecourse in Dubai. And he's just like a couple others here, is one of these speed horses. He won the UAE Derby wire to wire. Before that, he didn't really show a whole lot of promise in beforehand, but he actually finished 4th in a race behind Luxor Cafe, who we'll get to in a second, in a race at Tokyo Racecourse on February 23rd. And he was far back and didn't really show a lot of speed in that race. The UAE Derby, they changed tactics with him, went to the front, and he ultimately never looked back. He won that race going 1 mile and 3/16, which is just a little bit shorter than the 1.25 miles he'll be running on Saturday. He is going to be one of these long shots because he doesn't really show the kind of speed figures and really the kind of talent that some of the other horses have. But he's here, and obviously once the gates open, you never know what can happen. His jockey, Christophe Lemaire, is back in the U.S. This will be, I believe, his 2nd Kentucky Derby mount. So Admire Daytona is going to be one of these pace setters that could be a factor in determining how fast they go up front. But I will be very surprised, though, however, if he wins on Saturday.
Alrighty, next is Luxor Cafe, 15-1 on the morning line. This is Noriyuki Hori as the trainer. Tell us about Luxor Cafe.
So Luxor Cafe, he was born and raised in Japan, but he has a full, true American pedigree. His sire is Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh, out of the More Than Ready mare, Mary's Follies. He's actually a full brother to another Japanese horse named Cafe Pharaoh, who is a multiple Grade 1 winner in Japan from distances from 6 furlongs to 1.25 miles. So the distance should not be a problem for him. He has won 4 straight races coming into the Kentucky Derby. He did win the Japanese Road to the Derby stakes races over there. He did beat Admire Daytona February 23rd in the Hayes Stakes at Tokyo Racecourse. And he won that race, sweeping the turn and turning for home, and won the race going away very impressively. It was so the distance wise, I don't think it should be a problem for him. As far as how he's going to sit, I think he'll be about mid pack early on. He's going to get a good pace to run into. And so Luxor Cafe, I know he's coming over from Japan. When you compare him to a horse like Forever Young, who came over last year from Japan, I think Forever Young was a little bit more talented than him at this point in his career. But I think Luxor Cafe can hold his own against these American horses because this crop, honestly, it probably isn't as good as last year's was. So I think Luxor Cafe, with the right trip and with the right setup, I think has a big chance in here.
Alrighty. The 8 horse is Journalism, one of the favorites, 3-1 on the morning line. Michael McCarthy is the trainer. Tell us about Journalism.
So Journalism, I believe, will be the favorite come post time. He is coming off 4 straight victories, 3 graded stakes races. He won the Los Al. He is 4 for 4 in going races around 2 turns. His only loss was a 6 furlong sprint on October 27th last year. But since they got him around 2 turns, he's been almost unbeatable. He broke his maiden at Del Mar in very impressive fashion. He won the Los Alamitos Futurity over a couple of very nice Bob Baffert trained horses, including a couple of Breeders' Cup juvenile contenders in that race. In the San Felipe Stakes, he did beat Rodriguez in that race pretty handily. He also beat another fellow Baffert trainee named Byrnes. The biggest reason why was because he chased a pretty moderate pace, pretty slow pace in that race, and he turning for home. He blew by the horses like they were standing still, and he won going away very impressively. The Santa Anita Derby probably was an even more impressive race. He ran into traffic trouble, even though it was a very small field of 5. He ran into some traffic trouble, pretty much got stopped on the far turn, made a sweeping move on the outside, and he won over Baeza by about a half length, 3/4 of a length up the wire. It was very impressive. This horse has gotten the fastest Beyer speed figures of any in this field. You got a 101 in the Santa Anita Derby, a 108 in the San Felipe, which is extremely fast. So Journalism is going to be a heavy favorite. It's going to be a question of can he work out the right trip and how is he going to handle a large field? Because in the last 3 races combined, he's faced a combined 14 horses. And now he's going to face an even larger field than that combined. So Journalism is going to have to deal with some traffic trouble possibly. It's going to be a question of how he's going to work out the trip. But overall, I think he could be the most talented horse in this field. He's going to be a very well-deserving favorite. It's just going to be a question of trip at the end.
Alrighty. Next up is Burnham Square, 12-1 on the morning line. Ian Wilkes is the trainer. Tell us about Burnham Square.
So Burnham Square is going to be a horse that's you're not going to see him for much of the race because he's going to be a very deep closer. So he's going to need some pace in here. He benefited from it in the Holy Bull Stakes back on February 1st. He won that race turning for home, sweeping up on the outside, and won that race for going away. He did regress a little bit in the Fountain of Youth, where he finished 4th behind Sovereignty and Neocos. So afterwards, his trainer Ian Wilkes took him to Keeneland, where he chased a pretty modest pace in the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes, swept up on the outside, and he won the race by a nose and got his boys to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. He is going to need pace to chase. I don't have a problem with him getting a 1.25 miles. His sire Liam's Map has sired long distance horses before. So the distance wise shouldn't be a problem. What do you call it? The Bluegrass, I thought he showed new dimension by coming from off the pace. And his new jockey is Brian Hernandez Jr., who won the Kentucky Derby last year aboard Mystic Dan. So he's got a jockey with plenty of Derby experience and a jockey who knows how to win the Derby. So Burnham Square, should he get into the clear, and I think he can, he's going to be charging late. And I think he'll definitely be around at the end. Just going to be a matter of pace and trip.
Alrighty, next up is Grande, 10-1 on the morning line. Todd Pletcher, that's a trainer we haven't seen yet in the field. Tell us about Grande.
So Grande, this would be Todd Pletcher's only horse in the Derby. Ooh. Which is pretty surprising. He normally has a very strong group of 3-year-olds. Not this year, though. I believe he did not win a single Kentucky Derby prep race this year, which is very surprising. But Bronte got in here because he qualified by finishing second behind Rodriguez in the Whip Memorial. He didn't run as a 2-year-old, so his career debut came on January 11th, which he went gate to wire at Gulfstream Park. Won another allowance race about a month later at Gulfstream Park. Won that race pretty impressively over some pretty nice horses, which he showed a little bit of new dimension coming from off the pace. So, in the Wood Memorial, chased a pretty slow fractions, faced a pretty big field in there. And then he was coming on a bit at the end. He was pulling away late from the third place horse. So he's going to be one of these horses that could be around mid-pack, probably somewhere in the top 10 going down the backside. And his jockey would be John Velasquez, who has won plenty of Kentucky Derbies in the past. So he's got a good jockey aboard him. Should he get paced to chase, he's going to be around at the end. I don't know if exactly is going to be the win, but I can definitely see him somewhere top 5 or 6.
Alrighty. Next up's the 11, Flying Mohawk, 30-1 on the morning line. D. Whitworth Beckman is the trainer. Tell us about Flying Mohawk.
So Flying Mohawk is also exiting the Jeff Ruby Stakes behind Final Gambit. He was second in that race, so he can qualify. This is another horse who's going to be making his dirt debut in the Kentucky Derby. And personally, it's going to be tough sledding for him. I just don't see how he can win this race unless he gets another massive pace meltdown. He is another one of these deep closers. He has seemed like he trains over the dirt surface pretty fine. I think he's a much better horse though on the turf, and I think ultimately that's where his career is going to be ending up. His owners, 2-8 Racing, were the owners of last year's Belmont Stakes winner Dornock. So pretty nice connections getting back to the Triple Crown races. His trainer, Whit Beckman, was his trainer of Honor Marie, who ran in the Kentucky Derby last year. But coming in here, Flying Mohawk, it won't surprise me if he's one of the longest shots on the board. He's a pretty nice horse. He's won 2 races of his 6. The Derby will be his 7th career start. He's going to be one of these closers. Does need a fast pace. Ultimately, I just don't see it though. I think ultimately he's going to be a turf horse down the road.
Alrighty. East Avenue is the 12 horse, 20-1 on the morning line. Brendan Walsh is the trainer. Tell us about East Avenue.
Well, East Avenue, the way his career started, it looked like he was going to be one of the top horses in the country, and maybe even the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. He won his career debut at Ellis Park extremely impressively by open lengths. He won the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland around 2 turns, won that race by 6 lengths, and he was the heavy favorite for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But he stumbled at the start, and he finished 9th and 10 in that race, and seemingly looked like he was on a downward trend. He didn't make his next start until the Risen Star, where he got a good break, he got a good stalking trip, but he faded through the pack and finished 10th. It was a very disappointing, very puzzling effort, and a lot of people were really turned off after that race. Just didn't seem like, it looks like East Avenue's done. There's no reason to continue on the Triple Crown trail. But his trainer, Brendan Walsh, insisted, let's give him one more shot. Let's take him up to the Bluegrass and see what we can do. And he turned in arguably his best performance since the Breeders' Futurity. He went to the front, set some pretty quick fractions, but not too quick. And he was very game down the stretch. He showed a lot of heart, and he just missed winning the Bluegrass by a nose, getting nosed out by Burnham Square. So it seems like he could be back in form, although it is fair to question maybe he just prefers the Keeneland surface over other surfaces, although he has been training pretty well at Churchill Downs. He's going to be another one of these horses that is going to be on go right from the gate. Both of his career wins have come on the lead, including in the Breeders' Futurity. So if East Avenue doesn't get to the front, it could spell trouble for him. I fully expect him to go after the lead. He could be challenging one or both the Bachelor horses for it. If East Avenue can get to the front, maybe he can make some noise, unless he sets pretty quick fractions. But it's going to be tough sledding, and it's really hard to trust him considering he's had just one good race in his last 3. And unless I see him do it again, turning in another good performance, it's going to be just very hard to trust him, especially in a bigger field and more talented horses in here.
Alrighty. And 13 is Publisher, 20-1 on the morning line. Stephen Asmussen is the trainer. Tell us about Publisher.
So this is the most interesting horse in here because he's never won a race. He started 7 times, and he has never visited the winner's circle, 0 for 7.
Huh.
But he qualified for the Kentucky Derby because he finished 4th in the Rebel, which has Derby points. And then in the Arkansas Derby, he was 2nd behind Sandman, who we'll get to in a little bit. So his trainer, Steve Asmussen, has confidence in him despite not winning any races yet. I mean, and he's been on the board in 5 of his 7 starts. So it's not like he's been running bad in these races. He just seemingly just doesn't figure out how to win yet. I can't remember the last time. I tried looking it up. I can't remember the last time a maiden has won the Kentucky Derby. I think I have to go all the way back to like the early 1900s. But it's history certainly is going to be up against him. He is another one of these deep closers that could benefit from a fast speed duel. A big plus for him, however, he does get jockey Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard him. Irad is probably one of the best jockeys in the whole country. And so that's a big plus for him. And he has, in the mornings, been outworking his stablemate, Tiz-tastic, who we'll get to in just a second. So, I mean, it seems like he's been getting better with his starts. His workouts have been good. Can he win this race, though? I'm not so sure because, I mean, personally, I would love to pick a horse who has actually won before. And Publisher just hasn't done it yet. Pedigree-wise, should get the 1.25 miles, no problem. But I think history's up against him, and certainly it's going to be tough sledding for him.
Alrighty. Next is Tiz-tastic, 20-1. Also Stephen Asmussen. Tell us about Tiz-tastic.
So Tiz-tastic has really been coming into his own over these last couple months. He started his career on the turf. His first 3 races were on grass. He actually won. He won the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Mile on grass in Kentucky back on September 8th of last year. They switched him over to the dirt, and he's run twice at Churchill Downs. He was 2nd in the Street Sense behind Sovereignty, and then was 3rd in the Kentucky Jockey Club. He went to Oaklawn Park in the wintertime, and he fell off the pace. I mean, he just missed when finishing 3rd in the Southwest Stakes. And in the Rebel, he was pretty disappointing. Although it was a speed-biased track that day, he finished 5th up the racetrack. This looked like it wasn't really all that interested at the end. So his trainer, Steve Asmussen, opted to take him away from Oaklawn Park and move him down to the fairgrounds. For in the Louisiana Derby, he got more ground to run on 1 mile and 3/16 compared to 1 mile and 16, which is an extra furlong from the Rebel Stakes. In that race, he chased pretty moderate fractions, and he swept around the horses turning for home, and he held off Chunk of Gold, who we'll get to later on. Won the race pretty impressively, so distance-wise, the 1.25 miles shouldn't be a problem for him. His jockey, Joel Rosario, has won a Kentucky Derby before. Tiz-tastic is going to be one of these horses that's going to benefit from a fast pace in front of him. I like the way he's been training coming in. I know some I've seen in the horse racing media that hasn't really been liking it, but I think Tiz-tastic is a much better horse in the afternoons than he is in the mornings. He is very talented. He is from the first crop by Tiz the Law, who was a Belmont Stakes winner back in 2020. And so I don't see any reason why the distance would be a problem for him. I do like the fact that he is getting one of the most experienced horses in the field. This would be his 9th start coming up in the Kentucky Derby. So there is a lot to like with Tiz-tastic. I wouldn't worry about what he's doing in the mornings. It's really about what he does in the afternoon. And I think Tiz-tastic could be a factor in this Kentucky Derby on Saturday.
All right. 15 is Render Judgment, 30-1 on the morning line. Kenneth McPeak is the trainer. Tell us about Render Judgment.
So Render Judgment, I did mention it at the beginning. He is battling a quarter crack right now, and so could possibly be scratched out of the race if it doesn't get better by tomorrow. So it is something to keep an eye on. But for Render Judgment, he's pretty experienced, but overall, when it comes to stakes competition, hasn't done exactly all that well. His only win did come at Churchill Downs, though, back on October 27th. But his last few races really have been okay, not too great, though. He was beaten. He did finish 5th in the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes, where he was well beaten 5th in that field. He was 2nd behind American Promise in the Virginia Derby, although he ran pretty well in that race. It was a very, very fast racetrack. And it was a one-turn race. Maybe that could be something for him down the road, one-turn races. The Risen Star, he was completely overmatched in that race. He finished 8th. So they're really on paper and look at his record wise, there's really not a whole lot to like. The Connections originally decided not to enter him, but then changed their mind at the end to enter him. So even though I think the Connections are a little iffy with him, but obviously it's a once in a lifetime chance to run in the Kentucky Derby. So you never know, like, when you have that chance again. So he is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the longest shots in the field, and it would be like a Rich Strike upset if Render Judgment wins on Saturday.
All right. Next up is Cole Battle in the 16 spot, 30-1 on the morning line. The trainer is Lonnie Briley. Tell us about Cole Battle.
So Cole Battle, this is one of the cooler stories in this field. His trainer Lonnie Briley. This is his very first Kentucky Derby starter. His jockey Wong Vargas, same thing. This horse a little small connections from Louisiana, so they're easy people to root for. This is a horse who also basically began his career on the turf. He ran a couple times on the grass before transferring to the dirt. And running in the Midwest, he won a stakes race at Delta Downs in Louisiana back on November 8th, won it nicely. He won the Springboard Mile over a horse named Speed King, who came back to win the Southwest Stakes the very next month, where he beat a couple of Derby prospects in that race, like Sandman and Tiz-Tastic. But he won the Springboard Mile over him, came back on January 4th, where he won the Smarty Jones Stakes in impressive fashion. But his win in the Rebel Stakes got earned his spot in the Kentucky Derby. He was that day at Oaklawn Park on February 23rd was a very speed-biased track. It was not very friendly to closers, but Cole Battle, who was a closer, he was passing horses one by one, and he passed a fellow Baffert horse by the name of Manicat Road, and he was pulling away from the yards. It was extremely impressive at the end, the fact that on a speed-biased track like that, he could move around horses and win like that. So he won the Rebel Stakes to qualify. The Arkansas Derby, his last race, there was a very fast speed duel between a couple of horses in front of him. And I think his jockey moved a little bit too early on him. He did finish third, but he was a long way back third behind Sandman and Publisher. So the mile and a quarter, I do have some questions over it. I don't know exactly sure if he's going to be able to get it. He could, again, he's going to be one of these horses that benefits from a fast pace. I just hope his jockey doesn't move too soon. He's a very talented horse. I could see a top 10 finish for him. Maybe if he works out the right trip, could it be even top 5? But I don't know if he'll be able to pick on Saturday, but certainly is an easy colt to root for.
Alrighty, 17, Sandman, one of the favorites at 6-1. Mark Case is the trainer. Tell us about Sandman.
So Sandman, here's another one of these horses that probably the most experienced in the field. The Derby will be his 9th career start. He's been highly touted from the very beginning. He sold for $1.2 million at the OBS March sale for 2-year-olds last year. And right from the beginning, he did show some promise, even though he broke his maiden at Saratoga on August 10th. Then he ran in some stakes races at Churchill Downs. He was 5th in the Iroquois, going a 1-turn mile. The guy can actually show to be shown he wants to go 2 turns. The Street Sense, where he was 3rd behind Sovereignty and Tiz-Tastic. So, ultimately, he wintered at Oaklawn Park. He won an allowance race going 2 turns on December 13th. He was 2nd in the Southwest, and what's remarkable about that is at the start, he stumbled so badly, I don't even know how the jockey stayed aboard him, but he was dead last. He was long ways back, and he almost got up to the winner's Speed King that day. And so it was a very impressive run there. The Rebel Stakes, he got away better, but he was, again, fast. He did finish 3rd behind Cole Battle and Manicat Road, only beaten about 3/4 of a length. The Arkansas Derby, he finally got the pace that he was looking for. A couple horses on the lead, spent some pretty fast fractions in there, and then he went by them and he pulled away impressively to beat Publisher. So he's a Grade 1 winner. He's a lot to like about him. My biggest concern with him is this: the Arkansas Derby, coming down the stretch, he was bobbing and weaving all over the racetrack, and in the Kentucky Derby, you're not going to be allowed to get away with that like you did in Arkansas, especially in a big field like this. So he's going to need pretty much a very fast pace in front of him. His jockey Jose Ortiz is going to have to work out a good trip with him. Another interesting fact about him is his sire Tappet, one of the best sires I think of the 21st century. He sired a lot of stakes winners. He sired four Belmont Stakes winners, but he's never sired a Kentucky Derby winner. And progeny of Tappet have shown that they could be a little quirky, they could be a little too excited. And Sandman has displayed a lot of like what his sire Tappet is. He's very quirky. He gets a lot excited, usually in the mornings and even in the afternoons. And with a crowd of about 150,000 people, I'm not so sure how he's going to handle all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how he ultimately runs at the end. I don't know if he's going to win. I think he's going to be around at the end with a fast pace. But there's a lot to like about him talent-wise. But mentally with him, it could be difficult, especially with how many people are going to be there on Saturday.
Alrighty, 18 is Sovereignty. William Mott is the trainer of 5-1 on the morning line. Tell us about Sovereignty.
So Sovereignty, this horse I think is one of the best in the crop. It took him 3 tries to break his maiden. He was second in the main race at Saratoga back on August 24th. Second in fourth in that Saratoga race. That was second in a main special weight at Belmont Park at Aqueduct on September 27th. But ultimately, he was impressive in both of those main races. That his trainer Bill Mott took him to Churchill Downs and ran him in the Grade 3 Street Sense Stakes. And in that race, he was last behind a pretty modest fraction that was going a mile and a 16th. And turning for home, he swept by horses one by one. And he won the race by 5 lengths under a hand ride from Junior Alvarado. And he beat horses like Tistastic, who was second, and third in that race was Sandman. And he made them all look pedestrian. It was an extremely impressive performance. He was floating almost over that Churchill Downs surface. And it was extremely impressive. But after that, we didn't see him again until March 1st at Gulfstream Park, where Gulfstream has typically been known as like a speed bias track, where if you're not on the lead or close to the lead, going 2-turn races, you're pretty much in trouble from the start. And his race in the Fountain of Youth, he was chasing moderate fractions, and he got up just in the shadow of the wire from last. And typically, it was so impressive because you don't see horses coming from last in those type of races to win. So he won the race by a nose. Now, his last start in the Florida Derby, he got it was a large field through the outside post. And his jockey, Junior Alvarado, unfortunately was injured before the race, and so he couldn't ride him. His rider that day was Manny Franco. So he stumbled slightly at the start, and he ultimately was too far back, and he finished second behind Tappan Street, who was supposed to run the Kentucky Derby. Unfortunately, got hurt before the race, so he wasn't entered. But he does get his rider, Junior Alvarado, back. Distance-wise, should not be a problem for him. His sire, Into Mischief, has sired a couple Kentucky Derby winners in the past. So there is a lot to like with Sovereignty. His trainer, Bill Mott, won the Kentucky Derby in 2019 via disqualification. So I'm sure he would love to win the race just without a DQ and on his own. But, Sovereignty, this will be his 6th career start. He has shown that he loves the Churchill Downs surface. I think Sovereignty is a huge player on Saturday.
Alrighty. 19, Chunk of Gold, 30-1 on the morning line. Ethan West is the trainer. Tell us about Chunk of Gold.
So Chunk of Gold, this is one of the least expensive horses in the field. Only purchased for $2,500 at the Facey Tipton October Keeneland sale or Kentucky sale. So, and he was purchased for $2,500, and he's here running in the Kentucky Derby. So that's a pretty cool story there. His trainer, Ethan West, this is his very first Kentucky Derby runner. His jockey, Jarrett Ludbury, his second Derby runner. His first was Two Phils, who was second in the Derby in 2023. So he's now get a little more experience there. This will be his 5th career start, first at Churchill Downs. He did break his maiden over to synthetic at Turfway Park back on December 19th. So pretty impressive race. And then now he's routed off 3 straight second-place finishes, including 2 on the dirt at the fairgrounds in the Risen Star Stakes, where he was his second-place finish, he was at odds of over 50-1, coming from off the pace and closing from the back. And he backed it up by showing he wasn't all that much of was not a fluke. when he was second again behind Tiz Tastic in the Louisiana Derby. So I think he's going to go off at a pretty decent pricing here. He has been training primarily over at Turfway Park. He has not had a breeze yet over the Churchill Downs surface, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to get over the surface well. I think with a fast pace in front of him, he's going to be one of these horses that's going to close, and he does have a pretty fast closing kick. So I can see Chunk of Gold being one of these horses around at the end. And, it should be it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of trip Jared Loveberry works out for him, especially from post 19. The post shouldn't affect him too much because he is a deep closer, so he could just go right to the back and just let the horse in front of him do all the running. So never worse than second in 4 career starts. So Chunk of Gold could be an interesting play.
All righty. Next is the 20. Owen Almighty, 30-1 on the morning line. Brian Lynch is the trainer. Tell us about Owen Almighty.
So Owen Almighty, this horse is perplexing to me because personally, I don't think he should be in this race. I would much rather have seen him in the Pat Day Mile, which is also on the Kentucky Derby undercard. Pedigree-wise, I don't even think he can get a 1.25 miles. His sire, Spicetown, was primarily known for like sprinters and milers. He qualified for the Kentucky Derby by going gate to wire in the Grade 3 Tampa Bay Derby back on March 8th. And he, honestly, when you look back at that field, it wasn't really all that impressive of who he was facing in that race. His last race before the Derby was in the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes, where he just set off the pace from East Avenue. Turning for home, he was right there among the leaders, but he faded pretty badly and finished 6th of 7 in that race. Originally, the connections were saying, we're not going to point for the Derby, we're going to point for the Pat Day Mile instead. But then just about a week later, they ultimately decided, we'll go in the Kentucky Derby. We're right back in it. And honestly, it's a little perplexing why they would do that. I mean, I don't think this horse is going to be anywhere near the leaders toward the end. He should, if he does get a good break, he's going to be one of these pace setters, I think. Javier Castellano was a Derby-winning jockey aboard Mage in 2023. I mean, he's a talented horse, 3 for 7 lifetime. He has won a couple of stakes races in his career. He is 1 for 2 at Churchill Downs, of winning the second place finish in the Grade 3 Iroquois. So he is talented, but I don't think he's in the right race here.
Alrighty, and then last but not least, you never know what the scratch is. We talked about a scratch possibility earlier. We have to talk about Beza, who's the 21. There's no morning line odds for him. John Sheriffs is the trainer. Tell us about Beza.
So Baeza, this horse, personally, I think it's a shame that this horse is not entered in the full 20 horse field. There was a rule that Churchill Downs put in place earlier this year where if the field is 5 or shorter, then they would minimize the Derby points for that field. And in the Santa Anita Derby, he was second in that race, and where instead of getting 50 points, which would have automatically qualified him for the Derby, he only got around 37 and a half, and that's not enough to get into the field as of right now. So personally, I think it's a silly rule. I think that Churchill Downs wanted to punish California because they have had some problem with the fielding Derby-sized fields over there. But it's a shame because I personally, if Baeza was in this field, I think he's got a huge chance of winning. When you look at his pedigree, his sire Mackenzie with a 1 race is going 2 turns, and was very good in his career. The thing that's interesting, though, is he is the half sibling to 2023 Kentucky Derby winner Mage, and also 2024 Belmont Stakes winner Dornock. This could be the 3rd full in a row by his mother Puka to run in the Kentucky Derby, which is a pretty remarkable achievement for any kind of brood mare. And he's a very talented horse. He's run 3 times. He's run 4 starts, 3 of them on the dirt, never worse than second. His Santa Anita Derby, he was only a half length behind Journalism. He got a 101 Beyer speed figure, which is second best in the crop behind Journalism. So really is a shame that he's not in the field right now. But if the rumors are true and Render Judgment does scratch, I think Baeza will get in, and I think he's got a huge chance in this race because there's not a lot of horses I think that are better than him, talent wise and speed wise. And he also will get jockey Flavian Pratt aboard him, who's one of the best riders in the country. So, and he's got a really good Kentucky Derby record as well. So, if Baeza gets in, look out.
Alrighty. So, as we usually do on this show, we have to do win, place, show. Alright, who is your winner pick?
Alright, so for my winner, I'm going to go with number 18, Tistastic. So Sovereignty, I'm sorry.
That's
number
right.
18, Sovereignty. I just think because of there's a fast pace in front of him. I just believe his one race, I know it's only one race, but it was so impressive over the Churchill Downs surface. He should get pace to chase. Junior Alvarado is known for winning big-time races with trainer Bill Mott. The 18 post doesn't concern me, but Sovereignty's going to be flying at the end, and I really like the fact that he does have the pace to chase in front of him. So I'll take 18 Sovereignty.
I'm going to go with Sandman for my winner pick. Good record, good trainer. I like this horse a lot, so I'm going to go with Sandman. How about your place?
My place, I'm going to go with the 8 Journalism. Journalism coming over from California. He's been training so well in the mornings. He looks really good over the Churchill surface. Should work out a good trip. It's just going to be a question of how he's going to handle him with the bigger field compared to what he's been facing out in California. But talent-wise, I think it should get him there. So I'll take Journalism for my place.
I agree with you. I'm going to go with Journalism as well. Good record, and really has shown a lot. How about your show?
From my show, I'm going to go with the 9 Burnham Square. He's again, so he's no one of these closers, but the talent is there. Should get pace to chase in front of him. His win in the Bluegrass Days was very impressive. A much better effort than he did in the Fountain of Youth, and seems like one of these horses where the longer they go, the better he's going to get. So I'll take Burnham Square to come in third.
I'm going to go with Rodriguez for third. Do I feel great about it? No, because there's a lot of talented horses in this race, but he's very fast, and I think that he can sneak in the top 3. So I'm going to go Rodriguez for the show. All right, before we go, what did you make of the Giants draft, taking Abdul Carter at 3 and then trading back into the first round to get Jackson Dart?
So, for the Giants, the Abdul Carter pick, I love it. I think he's another pass rusher to already add to Brian Byrnes, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, Chauncey Golston that just added a free agency. So this team is loaded with pass rushers now. So there should be no reason why this Giants defense can't be a lot better, can't get to the quarterback. So I love the Abdul Carter pick. I think he's going to be one of the best pass rushers in the league if they use him right. And as far as taking Jackson Dart, I mean, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I mean, well, obviously we'll see. I mean, I think Jackson Dart's a lot better than people give him credit for. I mean, he did go 28-13 in his career in college, and he did play at Ole Miss and tough SEC, so he has some good highlights. He does have some okay highlights. I mean, the thing is, though, the biggest difference between this taking Jackson Dart compared to taking Daniel Jones back in 2019 was Jackson Dart's going to sit, and he's going to learn, and he's going to watch, which I think personally they should have done with Daniel Jones in 2019. I think it's helpful to have quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in the room with him, and a coach like Brian Dable who's going to be patient with him. So, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, I think Dart could be a good player in this league. I mean, obviously time will tell, but hopefully he's the quarterback of the future, because I really don't want to keep doing this song and dance every 3, 4, 5 years. But we'll be rooting for him, and hopefully after maybe sitting for a while, he takes over and hopefully leads us back to success.
Yes, so I thought Abdul Carter had to be the pick at 3. There's Micah Parsons comparisons with him, so I really felt that they had to go there. And then I was in favor of trading up for a quarterback. I preferred Jackson Dart over Shader Sanders only because of all the drama with Shader, and it would have just been a lot of Deion Shader. The Giants don't need more drama, so I was happy that it was Jackson. I was happy that it was Jackson Dart and not Shader Sanders. And by the way, were you? I know you were shocked that he fell to the 5th round, but that was just crazy, right?
Yeah, I was stunned. I could not believe that Shador Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round. I mean, I just don't think a lot of teams were interested, yeah, like you said, in the drama with Dion. And I did read a story. I believe it was from Todd McShay, where his interview with the Giants went horrible. Like, apparently Brian Dable drew up a play and Shador Sanders couldn't figure it out, and Dable called him out on it, and Shador didn't like it, and that was the biggest turnoff for Shador to the Giants. But I don't know. I guess that may have spread, or he must not have interviewed well at all with these teams and turned a lot of them off based on those interviews. So it was stunning that he fell all the way to the 5th round. I mean, I'm not surprised that he went to the Cleveland Browns, which I guess they now have 2 rookie quarterbacks in that room with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. So that's an interesting quarterback room in Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. And Deshaun Watson, although he's not playing.
And Deshaun Watson. I mean, geez. But, yeah, I was stunned. He fell all the way to the 5th round. But, well, time will tell if he ultimately proves to be a good NFL quarterback. But right now, I mean, well, the Giants took Jackson Dart, passed on Shador, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and then one more thing before we go. Do you think the Knicks close out the Pistons tonight?
I do. I think this Knicks team, they better close it out tonight, because I think they would much rather win tonight than head back to New York for Game 7, even though it's on their home floor.
Yeah.
They just want to get it over with. But that Game 5 was very disappointing in terms of like the way Tom Thibodeau coached it at the end, leaving Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart off the floor. But ultimately, I think they can close it out. I don't see how. I think the Knicks have a much better advantage on the defensive and the offensive rebounding front. So I think they can close it out tonight.
I think they close out tonight too. I think the fact that they're on the road actually is less pressure on the Knicks, weirdly enough. I remember they lost Game 5 at home against the Sixers last year as well, and then ultimately they won Game 6 on the road. Granted, that Sixers team last year, you could argue, was more talented than this Pistons team, only because of Embiid. I would say that Sixers team was more talented, although Tobias Harris, ironically, was on both teams, so that's something random I just thought about. So yeah, I think Knicks close out tonight, but I'm going to say it comes down to the last couple minutes and they hit their free throws late, which they did not do in Game 5. All right, it was a pleasure catching up with you, and we'll hope to have you on in a couple weeks for the Preakness, yes.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Always good to talk to you.
Always good to talk to you. Thank you.